Hey everybody, welcome back. Well, all the rumors were true. Halo 1 is getting remade. It's not titled Halo Combat Evolved, as you can tell by the title of the video. So I'm going to show the trailer real quick, then we'll kind of go over because we got a lot to talk about here. So anyways, let's do it.
According to the data in their networks, the ring has some kind of deep religious significance. They call it Halo. They believe that Halo is some kind of weapon.
What sort of weapon is it?
One with unimaginable power.
Chief, you gotta find the cartographer. We'll keep him busy as long as we can.
Fire Team Charlie, we're on our way.
Touchdown! Hit it, Marine! Somebody order a warthog.
The Covenant are putting up a real fight. The cartographer must be here.
Lock and load, rock and roll!
Give them hell, Chief.
And as you can see, it's going to be coming next year for Xbox, PC, and for the very first time in the series history, PlayStation. That's never going to take something to get used to, but they did confirm that Halo will be on PlayStation, going forward. So it is officially a multi-platform franchise once this remake comes out next year. Now they actually did a 13-minute gameplay demo, so which I gotta be real though, I was surprised that they actually showed that much gameplay, especially considering it's a work in progress build. They kept saying it was, I'm assuming it's pre-alpha. That's just my assumption. Because, just by looking at the footage, you can tell just that there are some issues, with, textures popping in, that kind of thing. On a side note, I absolutely fuck with the cutscenes in this remake because it looks absolutely gorgeous. It looks absolutely gorgeous. Now, one criticism I have so far is I'm about to show in a little bit, but I'm not too big on the sound design for some of the stuff because they noted that they redid the sound effects for this remake. So I'm gonna show the audio, play the audio real quick so you kind of see what I'm talking about.
We're approaching the LZ. It's gonna be hot. Get set to come out swinging.
As you can see, that's kind of what I was talking about. I'm very iffy on the sound design of this remake, specifically with the AR and the Magnum. It doesn't sound like it kind of should be. If that there's something weird about them. There's just something strange about them, if that makes sense to me. So I don't know what it is. So maybe there's something they could do to change that before the full game releases, since work in progress. But anyway, that's just another criticism I have with it. And as you can tell, the HUD, I think, is very, very generic. So, But luckily, they confirmed that you could customize it to your liking, so where you could change where the motion radar is. So that's good. That's a very good thing. Seemingly, based on all the footage that we have to work with, the health packs is gone. I'm I'm torn on this one. So for it kind of I don't know. It's sad that it's gone because that was kind of one of the key things of CE. But at the same time though, it's an interesting change. I mean I'll get used to it. You know, especially considering that most Halo games nowadays don't have health pack system outside of Reach, ODST, and CE. So I mean it's just something we'll have to get used to. Like would I personally like want to stay the same? Absolutely. So that it's more authentic to CE as a whole, because that's kind of the whole point of a remake. But moving on from that, another criticism I have is it just me, or is this like a kind of a CE anniversary all over again? Like where there are a lot of reused assets, specifically from like Halo Infinite, for instance, which I like Halo Infinite's art style, I do, but I would instantly, immediately prefer that they actually kind of essentially rebring the design of the enemy designs of CE to be authentic to what they looked like, but for the modern age, if that makes sense. But maybe it's all placeholders, maybe, because if I remember right, they actually changed the design of the assault rifle back in CE Anniversary before that came out way back in the day. So maybe that's something similar here, but the fact there's a lot of it though. So I'm not too sure if they're going to do that, but it is something that I think they should do, but that's kind of the whole point. Before I kind of finish up, we got some, let's move on from that. From Criticism, I'll go over all of them I have in the roundup. But anyways, we got some screenshots to go over, so let's take a look. As you can see, I like the design of the Warhawk here. It's interesting that look at the tires, they're kind of like hexagon, I guess. So I don't know, it's different. I mean, but I like it. So I really have no real issues with the design of the Warhog in this remake. So anyway, continuing. Next up, we have this image where it's again showing off the Forerunner interiors, which again looks like Halo Infinite, which again also looks like a little shiny, I guess, if that makes sense. Maybe they can tone it down before release, hopefully. I mean, if they did change it, I'm okay with it, but I would have preferred to be like more like CE, because it's a CE remake. So anyway, moving on, next one. As you can see here, again, like kind of showing the HUD, I've already said before, I'm not a big fan of it. I think it looks generic, but fortunately we can customize it to our liking. Hopefully that also includes like where the HUD markers all over the place, because that was kind of the point of CE originally, was that where the HUD markers, the hit markers, whatnot, and the objective markers weren't there usually, especially for objective ones. Like it would actually take a while before it would actually show you where objective markers would appear, unless it's like very very specific. So hey, maybe that's another thing they could do too, but time will tell on that one. Anyway, moving on. Next one. Now, this is a modern feature, which is ADS. I've heard mixed things about it I don't know if it's confirmed or not, that you can turn it off. I'm assuming it's the same thing as it is with Sprint. So yeah, Sprint is in this game. Like, you've seen it in the gameplay footage that they showed, but it's weird. I don't know. Like, I'll probably just keep them off, probably to be as like kind of authentic to CE as possible, but why are they here? I mean, it's a remake, I get it, but it seems like it's based on the Halo 5 counterparts compared to Halo Infinite's, which the shooting seemingly is like Infinite, which is fine. But more important to me is like, does it, essentially capture what makes Halo Halo from a pure gameplay standpoint. And from what I've heard, it does. So I say that's a W for sure, though. That was definitely a concern. Anyway, let's take a look at the key art then, shall we? And this is the key art for it. And I gotta say, I like it. Now, do I think it's going to be the final box art for the game? No, I don't think so, because that would be kind of following what Halo Infinite did, where if you remember in the Discover Hope one, they actually did the whole, like, where they had a key art, and then, like, a year later, they changed it, what ended up being the final box art that we have today. So, that's all I really got to say about the key art. Again, I like it, it's pretty cool. Now, before we kind of wrap this up, they did detail, like, the changes they did to it, so let's go over that, shall we? Here are the additions. They new missions, enhanced cinematics, more weapons, vehicle improvements, and more. New weapons. Fight beside Sergeant Avery Johnson, one of the Chief's most beloved allies. You encounter new characters, enemies, environments, and dangers in 3 new missions set before the events of CE. That I am so down for. That was one of the things I wanted for a remake like this, and they're doing it. That's pretty damn cool. A huge W in my book. Stunning cinematics. Pass through all of CE's iconic moments with enhanced cinematics featuring new motion capture animations and freshly recorded dialogue from returning cast members. That's a confirmation that definitely that they're using the old cast, because that was a concern before this revealed that they would be using AI. That's good that they're not. Like, believe me, nobody wants that. So I can't really complain about that part. Besides, the cinematics look fucking awesome. Anyways, enhanced audio. Immerse yourself in heroic exploits with a remastered soundtrack and fully rebuilt sound design that brings Halo's unmistakable weapons and vehicles to life in stunning fidelity. Just listen to those glorious hunters shoot. Like I said before, I'm iffy on the sound design of this remake, specifically with most of like the weapons. But they actually have still kept some classic sounds though, which is an interesting move. So, I don't know. That's just weird. Anyways, expand arsenal. We have 9 additional weapons from the healing wrist for the first time in CE, including the energy sword, the battle rifle, the needle rifle, and more instantly recognizable Halo weapons, alongside tried and true standbys. Vehicle upgrades. For the first time in Combat Evolved, the Master Chief can hijack nearby enemy vehicles and add range to his repertoire the helm of a Wraith tank. Better still, the dependable Warhawk now boasts an additional seat on the rear bumper, so your whole 4-player fire team can ride out together. And finally, dozens of skulls return to any mission in Campaign Evolved and remix your experience with the most gameplay modifying skulls of any Halo campaign. Activate skulls for randomized weapons, altered behavior, enemy attributes, environmental effects, and more. And that's it for the Waypoint article from what I can gather. So much possibilities with the new missions and the skull that changes gameplay quite a bit, and probably the most in the entire series. So Legendary is last, though. That's gonna be interesting to see, especially depending on what these new skulls are. You know what I mean? Okay, let's kind of get into my overall thoughts. Am I sold on this? Yeah, I think it looks solid so far based on what I've seen. Keyword so far. We're only going off of one mission. They could totally screw it up in everywhere else, like, easily. You know what I mean? You shouldn't trust them to, blindly trust them to deliver. You know what I mean? So, it is good that split screen is back. And they even showed it, unlike when they said that about Halo Infinite, but here, they actually showed it, actually in the game. So, that's definitely an improvement. Now, for my main criticisms, one, some of the assets, a lot of reusage of assets. Again, a lot of it is from Infinite, definitely, which I like Infinite assets, but this is Halo 1, you know what I mean? So I hope these are all placeholders, but I have my doubts that they're going to be changed before release, but hey, who the heck knows? They could totally surprise all of us, you know what I mean? But yeah, so another one I have is the assault rifle. It's 32 instead of 60. Now, my copium here is that the reason it's not 60 is because of SMG. If not, then that needs to be changed back to 60 as it always was, because the assault rifle in CE is purposely meant to be a bullet dozer. And a quick side note, this cutscene is absolutely amazing. The infamous kicking the light into the chasm. Beautiful. Freaking beautiful. I love everything about this cutscene. well, the cutscenes in general. If there's one area they absolutely cooked, it's with the cutscenes for absolutely. So, yep. Like, you know what I mean? So, other things I noticed, like, again, I mentioned before, like the HUD being generic, but fortunately you can change that. I've also noticed that the sprint is seemingly based on Halo 5, specifically on the animation side of things, which is interesting because you have Infinite, which, I mean, they've already used a bit of Infinite here already, so why didn't they just do that? You know, very curious decision by Halo Studios on that regard. So, I mean, so I don't know. It's very interesting decision. So, I mean, in general, I think there's some other ones. I already mentioned the audio. You know, I mentioned some of the other stuff. Obviously, the no multiplayer thing, where apparently their excuse was for to kind of focus on more co-op. I'm like, you can do both. Like, you've already done it before. You literally did that with Halo 2 Anniversary. Yes, you've used Outside Studios, but you get my point, though. You've already proven that you can do it, like you've done in the past. So that's just a lame excuse, personally, if you ask me, because I know others are going to say the same thing. Another criticism I have is, like, is it me or is the Foreigner architecture, like, too shiny? Maybe that's just because of Unreal, but hey, maybe they could tone it down before the final release. Because again, it is, I want to emphasize, it is absolutely important that we give Halo Studios as much feedback as we can. So hopefully they can actually make it into something that is worthy of CE when this eventually comes out next year. And I've also heard criticism about the performance not being there. I'm like, yeah, that's what I was afraid of with it being UE5. That's what I was very afraid of. But overall, though, I'm pretty positive about this remake so far based on what I've seen. So I don't have, those are the main complaints I have, such as, you know, the HUD being generic, the health pack system being gone, no multiplayer, which we kind of already knew it before this was officially announced, but it's still an L that it's there. And I freaking swear, if it's full price, man, that's gonna hurt really bad because it literally only has campaign. So there's no multiplayer or anything like that. Sure, it has 3 extra missions, which I'm absolutely all for, but multiplayer should be here too, especially because, you know, it's like the full package. You know, I know, like, people can say, but the multiplayer was like last minute in the original. That's not the point. It was part of the original game. You know, it was like one of the reasons why CE and Halos in general blew up the way it did when it first came out. That's what helped make it so influential. So it should be here. Like, it really should, but that's my piece on it. Like, I've already accepted it a long time ago, but it is what it is, unfortunately. It's also good for those who don't want it, who just don't want to sprint. You can toggle it. But also it makes me question, why is it here? Is it like some stupid, you know, checklist? Which that's the only thing I can think of, but whatever. But overall, I'm optimistic about it so far. It looks good so far. So will I pick it up? Yeah, absolutely. Especially so I can review it and do comparisons for the channel between this and the original. So 2026. So probably November of next year, most likely, unless that rumor is true that they're doing 2 games next year, which that opens the door for either, you know, one of them maybe being the first half of next year, but if this was the first half, I think they would have said it, or at least give more of a definite release window than just 2026. But I guess it depends on what Microsoft has planned. But that's all I gotta say on it. So, what did you guys think of the reveal? Me, I'm sold on it so far. But I'm gonna hold full judgment, until we actually see more of this thing, so that we can do even more judgment on it. You know what I mean? So, but hey, they're gonna be showing more next year. So stay tuned and hit that subscribe button, so because I will obviously be covering this remake full stop. So just keep on keeping that Halo train going. So until then, hope you liked the video, and I'll see you on the next one. Until then, have a good one.